Welcome to Gone Fishin'. On this week's show, your hosts Bob Kirkpatrick and TJ Schwenke do some shore fishing on the South Saskatchewan River.
Hi, I'm TJ Schwenke.
And I'm Bob Kirkpatrick. Welcome to Gone Fishin'. Today we're on the South Saskatchewan River near the Alberta border. We've got local sturgeon expert Gary Scory with us. In the Saskatchewan River, you don't know what you're going to get. There's a variety of fish. We just got a couple of nice goldeye. We hope there's some big sturgeon out here. Stay tuned for some big fish action.
Well, we just picked up another goldeye here. Seems there's a lot of goldeye in this hole. A lot of people don't fish for goldeye, and it's kind of too bad. They are excellent table fare when they're smoked. So we're going to let this one go. We're not going to keep keeping any fish today, but you know, if you want to get out and fish for some goldeye, they're great with the kids. You can catch a pile of them in a hurry, and they do make for some fine eating if you get them smoked.
Okay, now I just had another tap here on the rod, and that's the one nice thing about shore fishing like this. You've got lots of time to get ready. Just see the rod start to bounce a little bit. I can pick up the rod, let out a little line, give them time to take the bait. So it's not like if you're jig fishing for walleye where you got to set the hook right away. This, at least you got lots of time to get ready. I don't know if he's still there. With this current and the wind we have today, it's kind of hard to tell right away. Still hoping it's going to be that big sturgeon.
Get him?
I got him. He went out there a long ways. Well, whatever it was just came to the top of the water for a second. It's not the sturgeon we're looking for. Probably another goldeye.
Yep.
With 4 ounces of weight and the current and the wind, you have no idea at first how big these fish are. There's another nice goldeye, and he isn't hooked too bad. I'm going to get him off and in the water right away. Just hooked on the bottom lip. Oh, he wants to come on shore. There he goes.
Well, I just picked up something else here. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's not real big. Maybe another goldeye. I'll just get it in here and see.
Sure lots, yeah, another goldeye. Sure lots of goldeye in here.
That's
a sauger.
Little sauger. We've been fishing here, I don't know, 30 minutes, and this is the 3rd species we've caught already. He's kind of got himself all hooked up here. Now I'm using minnows as bait. And we're just using a rig that keeps him nice and close to the bottom. And well, he's got it down. You got a pair of forceps, Bob? Thanks, Bob. It's not too badly hooked here, but okay, we got something a little bit interesting here. We thought this was a sauger at first, but what it is, it's a sog eye. Now he's got the traditional black spots through the dorsal here, and that's what made us think it was a sauger at first. But on the tail, there's a little bit of a white tip. So what a sog eye is, it's actually a cross between a sauger and a walleye, and it's not that uncommon for them to cross, especially in the rivers like this. So that's just another one of the species that are available here.
You never know.
That's true. You notice they're a little darker through the back. And there's almost some black patches and spots, and that's what identifies the sauger from the walleye. I'm just going to let this one go now. He's a little small to eat, and like I said, we're not going to keep any fish today. We've got enough, so we'll get him back in the water.
Okay, now what I've got here is a slip sinker rig. We've got 4-ounce pyramid sinkers on just to hold us steady in the current. And I've got a slip sinker rig with 2 hooks on it. I'm trying 2 different baits. I've got leeches, 3 or 4 leeches on one hook, about a number 2 hook. I'm going to put a night crawler on this other one. And we're just going to try some different baits and see what seems to get these fish going. So far we've caught a bunch of goldeye on everything. Still looking for those sturgeon. I know they're out there somewhere. There's so many fish in this river and so many different kinds. You could catch goldeye, walleye, sauger, sturgeon, trout, pike, burbot. You don't know what you're going to get. There's all kinds of fish out here. But that's why we're trying a variety of baits and see what happens. I have one going here. Still there. I'm going to give them just a little bit of time to take that bait. If it is a sturgeon, how they eat is they just kind of suck up the bait off the bottom and blow out the extra dirt and mud and whatever else out of their gills, and they'll take that bait and turn and swim with it. So I'm hoping this is a sturgeon. He's going to pick it up and swim away with it. So I'm going to give him a little bit of line. Now, I don't know if he's still there or not. It's kind of hard with this current and that 4-ounce sinker to get really good feel. I'll just take a little bit of line in, see if he's still there. Yeah, he's still there. Well, here goes. Got something.
Got another one, Bob?
Another one. Like I said, you never know what you got here. This isn't the sturgeon I'm looking for. It's probably another goldeye. There's some monster walleyes here too.
Now Gary's been telling us the goldeye are just moving in to the river now, and I guess later in the fall it actually gets better for the goldeye fishing. So.
Oh!
There's another species.
Now, if you're quick, you can see I caught a big, ugly sucker. Oh, there he goes. So we got a little bit of everything here. Like I said, you never know what you're going to get.
It's unbelievable having this variety of fish. You know, every time that rod tip pops, you don't know what's on the end of it, and it keeps things interesting. And like I say, the action's so incredible. So how long have you been fishing this river?
Oh, off and on for about 35 years.
Well, I know from what we've heard from all the people around town and some of the fisheries guys, you're the man to talk to about this river.
Well, I do catch a few, and I usually fish specifically for sturgeon because I like to catch them, and I release them because their population is declining, I think, and I just go out to catch one and let it go, and that's about it.
Yeah, well, that's a nice thing. I mean, if you happen to pick up a couple little walleye while you're fishing sturgeon, I mean, there's a great meal, and you know, you can let that sturgeon go, and hopefully someone else can catch it.
That's one thing about fishing this way. You can catch everything. You don't have to have all kinds of different equipment to, you know, you catch them all on minnows or whatever you want to use, and that's...
Well, this shore fishing is really relaxing. I mean, we can just sit here and every once in a while glance back and look at the rods and see if there's a bite going on. It's kind of relaxing. In fact, I had trouble staying awake a little while ago when the sun came out. But TJ and I fish a lot for walleye, probably more than anything else, and there's a chance of catching a provincial record walleye here. I mean, there's lots of 13, 14-pound plus walleye caught here later in the fall.
Later in the fall when it gets a little bit colder, and you have to dress a lot different too.
Yeah, just the factor there makes quite a difference. Like I said, you can catch anything here, and in that kind of class of fish, it's a great fishery.
No, this is great to bring us out, Gary. We really appreciate this, and
I like to get out as much as I can.
Yeah.
Have some company.
Well, I sure appreciate you taking a couple of days off and looking after us here.
Let's take the rods going, Bob.
I got one going. I got something else on here. This feels a little heavier. Oh, it's a goldeye. Oh, there's 2 of them on here. That's why it feels heavier. Wow, they must be in here pretty thick. Look at that. Those are two nice goldeyes. You got one, TJ? Yeah, those are two nice goldeye. They've got to be in here pretty thick. Get two at a time. Well, I'm going to get them back in the water.
Endless fields of wheat waving gently in a brisk prairie breeze. Undoubtedly the first image that comes to mind when Saskatchewan is mentioned. These rich soils also provide sustenance for a wide variety of wildlife. The pronghorn antelope is one of the most common sights on the prairies. His tawny coat blends well with the surrounding landscape. Mule deer also flourish among the steep river valleys and coulees. It is the fishing, however, that has attracted the Gone Fishing team to the South Saskatchewan River. Several species of fish inhabit this swift-flowing river. They include walleye, sauger, goldeye, and the elusive lake sturgeon. The South Saskatchewan River is one of the select few bodies of water that supports a healthy population of sturgeon. This prehistoric predator can attain weights in excess of 100 pounds and offers freshwater fishing's greatest challenge. The South Saskatchewan River offers some of the finest shore fishing opportunities in Saskatchewan. Here, anglers can spend long summer afternoons still fishing bait for the river's abundant bounty. For the non-angler, this region is steeped in history and contains some truly unique geological formations. One can spend hours wandering through the eroding cliffs and banks in search of a piece of the past. The South Saskatchewan River represents one of the most enjoyable angling adventures in the province.
Now we've moved to a different spot on the river. We're 5 or 6 miles from where we were earlier this morning. As you can see, the weather's cleared up, the sun's out, and it's nice and it was starting to warm up. It was real cold this morning. We didn't even know if we were going to get out here. It rained all night. The roads, we come down some pretty wild trails to get here. Caught a few goldeye since we got here about 10 minutes ago, and I got another one going right now. Or I guess they never know what it is here, but we'll see in a minute. Oh, I think I lost it. Oh, another small goldeye. Sure, lots of these in here. I've been using night crawlers for bait. Maybe I have to switch to something else because the goldeye sure are going after it anyway.
Well, this one's got a little more fight to it. Oh, it's like a little walleye. And what we're using today basically is, it's a rig that, keeps your bait right on the bottom. We're using 2 hooks on it. And the reason for that is let's get him back here. We're fishing for a variety of species here. We're not really selecting or targeting any one species. We just wanted to come out here, have some fun, and catch a bunch of fish. So what we're doing is we're keeping our bait right tight to the bottom and using minnows, night crawlers, and leeches, and kind of offering a little bit of variety for the fish, and so they can choose what they want. Now there is sturgeon in this river, as we've talked about, and it's a bonus if we catch one of those, but our main objective is just to get out here, have some fun, and catch a bunch of fish. So this bottom type rig, which you got your 2 hooks and your weights, keeps it right down towards the bottom, that'll catch probably the most different species of fish in here, and catch the most numbers of fish as well. So that's why we're using this rig today, and like I say, if we do get into a sturgeon, it's the extra bonus.
It's time now for Pokey's Pro Tips.
The gear we were using today was anything but sophisticated, but we did have it rigged for a reason. Now, I guess most importantly, we had a 3 to 4 ounce sinker. Now, the current's fairly strong here, so it was important that that sinker would hold the rig in place once we cast out. We didn't want it casting out and drifting all the way downstream, so that's why we used a 3 to 4 ounce sinker. Now, what I've got tied up here, it's just a 3-way swivel with a dropper, and I've got that weight tied on with a smaller diameter line, so it'll break easier. So if the weight gets snagged, it'll just break off, and I'll be able to reel the rest of the rig in and just tie a new weight on. Now what I've done is run it down to another 3-way swivel and just tied a hook with about 1 inch or 2 lead, and then about a foot down from that I did another one. And what I did at the end of that is just attached a split shot or a couple split shot. Now what happens when you cast this out, the main weight grabs in the current and the rest of it strings out behind. And what that'll do is just keeps your minnows about an inch or two off the bottom. So we're fishing for a variety of species today, but most of the ones we're looking for were bottom feeders. So what that did is kept your bait right close to the bottom. It's also good, we were hoping to catch some sturgeon today. So what this allowed is the bait was just there, I was using minnows. So what happens is sturgeon could come over it, and when sturgeon feed, they actually suck the bait up. And they have a sucker type mouth, and they extend it out and just suck the bait right up. So that's why we had to use this rig, but it was useful on all the species we were catching. I just had some number 2 bait holder hooks. Now these are a Gamakatsu hook. They're just super, super sharp. And it was quite windy earlier today. So it was sometimes hard to sense strikes. So we had to use a super sharp hook that could almost set itself. So that's why we use these Gamakatsus. They're unbelievably sharp. I chose to use a level wind. And I've got it spooled up with 12-pound test line here. And the reason for that, for the level wind reel, it's a big, large capacity reel. Now if I happen to hook into a sturgeon, I mean, he might take 100 or 200 or even 250 yards of line. And this way I could fight him. I wasn't using too heavy a tackle because we were catching some smaller fish as well. So that's why I chose that. I've got a 7.5-foot rod, and we were casting a long ways out, so it was nice to have the longer rod to pick up the slack when you were setting the hook. And plus this rod helps you in fighting a big fish, if we happen to get into a big fish. So it's a medium heavy action rod. One other thing you might have saw us do today, we were squirting some WD-40 on our bait actually, and it wasn't to stop the hooks from rusting. Sturgeon especially, and a lot of fish, have incredibly keen senses of smell. And the molecular composition of WD-40 is very similar to that to natural fish oils. And the way fish actually detect scents is they bring water in through their nostrils. And rather than smelling, as humans do, or dogs or anything like that, they actually break down the composition of each molecule. And so the molecular composition of WD-40 is very similar to the natural fish. So that's why WD-40 seems to work as a fish attractant. Now Bob is using a little different rig, and he'll give you an insight on what that was.
I used a little bit different rig than TJ. I hooked up a sliding bait rig here. And what I use is a pyramid sinker. It's 4 ounce. And the idea of using a pyramid sinker, or the reason for using a pyramid sinker in the river, is it kind of sticks into the bottom of the river and doesn't roll down with the current. Now, how I hook this up is I've got my line coming from my reel. It's about 14-pound test. I put on a bead and an inline swivel. And then I used about 20-pound Dacron line. Now the reason we use 20-pound Dacron, as TJ mentioned, we have no idea what we're going to catch out here. We could catch anything from goldeye to sturgeon, so I tried to prepare for the biggest. And how this works is the weight sits on the bottom of the river, and when a fish picks up the bait that you're using, I was using a night crawler today, when a fish picks up that bait, it can swim away without feeling any resistance of the weight. If I'm there holding the rod and I just let the line go, it can swim away. So it's got time to take that bait and get a good hold on it. As you can see, the weight just sits still and the rig slides through. And as I mentioned, I was using a night crawler, and I hooked it on a little different than I would for walleye fishing. I just bunched it up on the hook. Tried to cover the whole hook. Stuck it on, folded it over a little bit, just worked it on all the way down the hook till I got to the end of the crawler, and I also gave it a shot of WD-40 when I was finished. I was using a bait caster rod and reel. This is a large capacity bait caster. I've got 14-pound test on it, and it holds quite a bit of line in case we do get a big fish that'll run down the river quite a ways. I have a 7-foot medium heavy rod, just enough so I can work those big fish if we happen to get any. And we also had another device we used here that helps when you're fishing from shore. Just sticks in the sand, you can put your rod in it and watch it from a distance. That way you don't have to be holding onto the rod all the time.
Well, that one kind of had my heart going for a second. That rod just took one big bend over, which isn't typical of the goldeye today. They've just been kind of tapping at it. And it just took one big bend, but as you can see, it's a decent sized goldeye. Now if you're out catching goldeye and you're wondering what to do with them, basically you just take the head off and eviscerate them and peel the scales off. Now these scales come off really easy. You can just use a spoon or a kitchen knife or something like that. scale them out. Then you just soak them in a brine mixture overnight, and there's a ton of different brine mixtures on the market, and usually they have, you know, salt and sugar and lemon and things like that in them. And after that, you just put them in a smoker, and depending on the temperature you smoke them at, that'll give you the time, and they are some of the finest eating you'll ever try. So make sure if you do catch some that you take a couple home and give it a try. You'll really enjoy them. Well, I just had a bite here. I'm just going to reel in and check my bait. There's nothing there. What happens here when you get a bite, you'll see your rod move, and rather than just grab it and set the hook, what we've been doing is you just pick it up and hold it and wait and see if there is some weight there, if that fish is still there. And once you know he's there and you got contact with him, then set the hook. And obviously I didn't lose my bait here or anything. Now, using these rigs, it's fairly long, and we're using 3 or 4 ounces of weight here, so it does take a little bit of specialized casting, and we're almost doing an overhead lob cast. Just kind of bring it out behind you and let it lob out there, and once it hits the water, just pull back a little line and just let it settle into the current. Now you'll watch as that weight rolls down, it'll bob on your rod a few times, and as it slips into a hole or somewhere, it'll actually grab and it'll just sit there. So it takes a little bit of practice casting out this much weight. It's not like casting a 1/4 ounce jig or something like that. You'll end up snapping off your line if you try that. So it's just a nice easy lob, and there's lots of weight to carry it out there.
Still there?
Yep, he's just banging still.
Boy, it's just tap, tap, tap. My rod is just going like crazy. We're right on the edge of the current here. You can see the hole where the current goes around. There's kind of a back eddy in here, and this is where the sturgeon are more likely to be, in this backwater. So we're trying to cast out our baits right along the edge there in the shallow water. On the other side of the current, it's probably only 4 or 5 feet deep. And that's where those sturgeon should be, but
what they'll do is
I keep picking off the baits before.
Yeah, the sturgeon will move up out of the deeper water onto that shallow flat to feed, and that's where we're trying to leave our baits. I think I'll check this one too. Maybe there is one there. Yeah.
You got one? So I need to shoot up this worm a little bit, but I'm going to try it again.
Another goldeye. I sure like these night crawlers.
There, I got up on the flat part that time. Seems like if you get a little too close to shore and you fall down in that channel, you're going to get the goldeye for sure.
It's one of our greatest treasures, a marshland, home to over 300 species of birds and mammals, and countless plants and insects. One of the most productive places on Earth. It's worth saving. Help Ducks Unlimited preserve this treasure.
Make sure you're not the cause. Protect our environment and your community. Wetland gift from Ducks Unlimited Canada.
Well, we had a great day here today on the Saskatchewan River. It was quite enjoyable. We just set up on shore. We caught a lot of fish and many different species of fish, including this clam that Bob brought in. So we just like to thank Gary for bringing us out here and showing us this place. Thank you.
Well, thanks for sharing all your expertise in the river here, Gary. Make sure you join us again next time on Gone Fishing.